Hello and welcome to M&A Murders and Accusations, the good, the bad, and the ugly of selling your business. We dig into what you need to know and how not to kill the sell of your business. Now here's our host, Rick J. Krebs, Mergers and Acquisitions Advisor.
Hello, everyone. This is Rick J. Krebs coming to you from the mountains of Heber City, Utah. M&A cowboy, murders and accusations, the good, the bad, and the ugly of selling your business. Today, we're going to talk about something exciting. It's how to prepare for a buyer meeting. You might think, well, that's pretty easy. I just wing it. The problem with business owners and entrepreneurs is we're used to winging it, but I want to talk about what you need to do to prepare mentally and physically for a buyer meeting. So the first thing to know when you're preparing is you are no longer in the little leagues. You're no longer in T-ball. You are in the big leagues now. Let me give you an example. So I've got a friend of mine, and his brother played in the NFL. And for those of you that have played in the NFL, you can relate to this. But, you know, when I played sports in junior high and little league and that in high school, but what his brother told him was there was a huge jump from high school sports to collegiate sports. Then he went on and played in the NFL, and he said the first time he was there in a scrimmage in the NFL, he got hit so hard it just shook him and it hurt. And he said there is a jump between high school and college, and there is a much bigger jump between college and the NFL because people are playing for money. You know, and you look around and you look at the guy and you're like, well, I was All-American and I did this and I did this, and the next guy did the same thing. And you're like, every single person on this team is a superstar, and they're the best of the best in the country. And the way they hit is so hard and so different than what he experienced in college, and then much, much more different than high school. So as you're going into this selling a business or going into the buyer meeting, you need to know that this is big leagues. This is big time. This is no more, little T-ball hitting it off the tee. If you're not prepared when you step up to the plate as a batter, if you're not prepared when they throw that 90-mile-an-hour fastball past you, you won't know what hit you. I mean, you are going to be blown away. The problem is, this is the game of your life. This is selling your business. You probably never sold a business before. You don't know what you're doing. And you step up to the plate and they throw that 90-mile-an-hour fastball past you, and you just are totally out of your league. And that's what it's like. I use this example. It's tea and crumpets with a cat and a mouse, and you're the mouse. And you got to make sure you don't get eaten by the cat. And this is your baby. This is your retirement. This is for your family or your employees, and you've got to be on your A game. And so how do you prepare to do that? How do you prepare to have a good buyer meeting? I want to tell you a story of a meeting that we had one time with a buyer and a seller, and we were in the meeting, and the buyer discovered something that wasn't disclosed to him that should have been disclosed. And when that happened, the energy just left the room. And anytime a buyer finds out that something has not been disclosed that should have been, most of the times they leave. They just go away, or if they're lied to. So you've got to make sure that you've disclosed everything ahead of the meeting, if there's everything that is important. And it's okay. It's okay to tell them they're big boys and girls, but things are better disclosed and they are discovered. You make sure that they go out and they know ahead of the meeting. If there's something that they need to know, you don't want to just drop the bomb on them at the meeting. You want to have these conversations prior to the meeting. One of the things as you plan for the meeting, you want to plan where you're going to sit. Sitting across the table on our team, and we're going to sit next to them. You kind of want to talk about your strategy about where to sit. And you also want to talk about your strategy for zingers. And I've got another podcast on zingers. I want you to listen to that, talk about how you answer questions. But these meetings, oftentimes they include a dinner or some type of food. The food part of it is generally just social and, your family, your kids, and the buyers are looking to get to know you. They want to know you personally, and they want to know they can trust you, right? If they have a dinner or something, and that's usually more social, and then sometimes you'll do a dinner at night, and then you'll do a big buyer meeting the next day. Sometimes it's all done in the same day. So the question is, one, where do you do it? You want it at a location that is quiet. You want it at a location where you can have extra time and not be rushed. And sometimes restaurants are okay, but you want a private room for that restaurant. Pick a location that is nice and pick a location that employees don't usually go to, right? You don't want a loud, noisy bar or something like that. And the other thing is who buys. Generally, the sellers will want to offer to buy, but I see that buyers generally buy, but sellers definitely want to offer to buy. The buyers have bought tickets, they've flown in, they've spent time. And so I think it's a good show of good faith for the sellers to offer to buy. Now, we've gone through location, we've gone through who buys. The other thing that I recommend is I recommend that you practice answering the questions, the tough questions, the zingers with your M&A advisor. Think about the 3 toughest questions they're going to give you, and you answer them and you practice that. That's in my podcast zingers as well. So you want to, before the meeting, pinpoint the people that are coming, get to know them a little bit, and, determine what type of people they are. The other podcast that talks about the 4 different types of people, maybe you have John, that he's a rhino, he's a visionary. And so you're going to think about your answers to John being ones that align with what he's looking for. You want to use power words in your answers. Things like, we appreciate. You want to say we're intrigued. You never want to say we're interested. We're intrigued by your offer, and we're intrigued by what you're bringing. Sometimes they want to just push everything to the numbers and to the money, but get that off the table. Just say, we want to know about the partnership. We want to know what you bring to the business at this meeting, and ask them those type of questions. You want to use the words like, we are intrigued, we are encouraged. Never say simple. Sometimes people will want to say, oh yeah, it's simple. Well, if it's that simple, the buyers are just going to go out and do it on their own. They don't need to buy you. So you don't want to use words like simple. You want to use words like, we've taken a complex process and we've made it one that is, through our proprietary technology and through our systems and our processes, we have taken a complex process and made it one that's manageable. For instance, versus saying, oh, it's so simple, anybody can do it. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to talk about dress. So generally these meetings are slacks and a business coat. Ties are not necessary. If it's a construction company, I tell the construction guys to just dress like they normally would, jeans, and that's just fine. So you want to dress appropriately for the type of business it is. Most of the buyers are going to come in, especially private equity, they're going to be in a shirt and a nice shirt and slacks and a sport coat, a jacket of some type. So just think a little bit about how you're going to dress and make sure everyone is dressing the same. Don't be afraid to call time out. Now, as you're doing your meeting with the buyers, I think that body language is important. I heard a story one time of a woman who had to go and she had to testify before the Senate, one of the Senate hearings. And what she did, they had her on a chair. They had, they had a dozen or so people in a semicircle lined up side by side. And then they had a chair in the middle of the room. And you talk about a hot seat. And the first thing that this individual did is they went up, instead of sitting on the chair as you normally would, they turned it around and sat on the chair backwards. Well, what does that tell the people? That tells the people that you're putting up your guard and you're ready to go to battle, right? And so your body language, folding hands on your lap, folding hands in front of your face, I like that. Folding arms, just think about it. You want to be well rested. And I know that's hard the night before, you're all excited, but you'd like to be well rested for the meeting. As you're answering the questions, I like to use we and our. We built this business. Our team is amazing. You want to not say I very much. The reason for that is if you say I very much, it makes it sound like you built the whole thing yourself. You're the main person. And it gives less value to the business and gives more value to yourself, which is the opposite of what you want to do. So use we and our and the team instead of I built this and I close this. And just remember, as we're in negotiation, the first one to blink loses. So don't be afraid to put something out there and to let them squirm a little bit. It's all right to do that. It's okay to pause. As far as asking questions to buyers, and we're going to have another podcast about what questions to ask a buyer, what are good questions. The way I like to do the questions is I like to ask the hard questions in the middle of the conversation. Never lead with a hard question. Never just hit them right over the head right off the bat. You need to soften them up a little bit. You need to get into the conversations. You want to ask the hard questions in the middle. You also want to tell them it's not just about the money, it's about the partner. And what does this relationship bring? You can tell pivotal stories to express your culture. We had a company, and they were a SaaS company, and during COVID, they nearly got shut down, right? And what they did is they pivoted. And so we told a story about the pivot and how it went, and revenues were down that year. And we just hit the nail right on the head. We didn't hide from it. We didn't try and go around it. We just said, you know what? Revenues were down, and here's why, and here's how we brought them up. I have another seller who was thinking about selling the business or shutting it down. And he went to his managers and said, you know what? I don't know how to run this company. My partner left, and I don't know how to run it. And I'm thinking about shutting it down. And the managers told him, hey, we've got your back. Don't shut it down. We know how to run this. And so these stories are really good. What you don't want to do is you don't want to tell horror stories. You don't want to go through something that happened 10 years ago with a customer that, was the worst thing that ever happened to you. Don't share horror stories. You love them, but the buyers do not. And I'm going to say it one more time. Do not share your horror stories about the business, even though you love them and they're fun to tell. And I know I'm an old guy, and the older we get, the more we love our stories. So you want to keep your answers short with the buyers. I'm sure that many of you have heard about TikTok or Instagram, right? And you're looking at those videos. Well, how long are those videos? They're like 10 seconds. At the most, they're like 30 seconds, right? That is our attention span now. People have a very short attention span. So if they ask a question and you go on and on and on about the answer, they're going to lose their attention, and that's not what you want. So you want to keep your answers short. You want to be direct, and you want to be concise. There's beauty in brevity. And you want to leave them wanting a little more. It's better to leave them wanting more. And it's not like putting out a fire. It's like dating the prettiest girl in high school. If you have to chase her instead of her chasing you, that's a different chase. You want to do things that are going to intrigue her, that are going to be a little bit different, that are going to make you stand out. So make her want you. And that's how you thoughtfully ask these questions and how you thoughtfully go to a meeting. If you do that, you're going to succeed with this, and make them want you. Make them earn the right to ask the question, right? If they ask a question that's too poignant or just not appropriate, say, you know what, we'll have to get back to you that or with that answer, or, we're focused on more important things like such and such. You engage with them, you make them want you, and you answer things, and it's okay to hold back a little bit and let them ask a follow-up question or to answer shortly and say, does that make sense? Or would you like me to elaborate on that? Those thoughtful, probing questions are exactly what you need to do. One question you can ask them is, what would you as a buyer like to see in a partner, in a future partner? What would you like to see from us? I love questions like that. So there you have it, how to prepare for a buyer meeting. And I want you to know that if you do these things, you've got this. Don't worry about it. You can go in there and go in with confidence, and liars or dyers, never lie. Just be honest, be brief, and you'll have a great buyer meeting. Thank you for joining us on our show today. The Rick J. Krebs, the M&A Cowboy. Have a great day.
Thank you for attending our podcast. We invite you to join us for future episodes of M&A, Murders and Accusations, the good, the bad, and the ugly of selling your business. You can also visit us at www.bsalesgroup.com or email Rick directly at rick@bsalesgroup.com.